almost half of all young people in the country are unemployed. Shocking, right? That's our reality. It's been blamed on a lack of skills and job creation. Entrepreneurship has been lauded as the silver bullet, but not everyone can or wants to start a business. Let's discuss this with founder of small business development agency Fatola, Catherine Wijnberg. Catherine, thank you so much for speaking to us here on eNCA this morning. Let's perhaps start with your thoughts on what you have found to be the contributing factors to the very high unemployment rate we see in our country, specifically among young people as well, Catherine.
Yeah, thanks so much for that. For me, it's really clear that one of the key drivers of unemployment is our very slow growth rate. And so I'm really passionate about things like the success story you just spoke about in the swimming, attitude, positive attitude in the country, a positive inflow of investment. It's really, really important that we do everything that we can to stimulate growth, because the reality is that businesses can't grow unless there is a market for them to grow into. And so for me, the real driver is our very slow growth rate. And then behind that, specifically about youth, I think it's very well documented that our education system has not been serving the youth as it should be. So it's these two factors. One, we have this very slow growth rate, this decline in confidence for people investing in South Africa, coupled with this really very dismal education of the youth.
Speaking about the education system then, Catherine, with the skill shortage at a high in South Africa at the moment, which skills do you think the youth need to improve most in? If you were to advise young people or their parents, what do we need to look at?
So in my experience, the two skills that are really needed in business, other than your kind of just generally good agile thinking and the ability to work with the unknown, I really would encourage everybody that their children should do science, maths, because that kind of thinking, certainly the ability to add up, is really vital if you're in business, just to be able to understand your finances. And more, this thing of technology. I actually was just writing a piece yesterday for one of our upcoming webinars, really saying to entrepreneurs that you need to be looking at technology. The reality is that any business that's going to be thriving in 2030 is going to be a business that is tech-enabled. So definitely youngsters being savvy with technology, being really trying to address their understanding of maths and science. And then I suppose communications. So yeah, the ability to communicate is always good in any industry.
Then back to the slow growth rate that you spoke about in the beginning, Catherine. We keep on hearing that entrepreneurship, small business development, is one of the keys to get the slow growth rate upticking again. But the reality is that not everybody wants to work for themselves, right, Catherine?
Well, thank heavens, because if that was the case, there'd be nobody working with the entrepreneurs to help them to get ahead. So I'm a real believer that everybody should understand business, because even if you're an employee, the more you understand how business works and how your contribution to effort results in profit, and because of profit you're able to be paid. So I think that everybody should have a good understanding of business, and I think that introducing it into the school system would be a real good win. And then obviously for entrepreneurs themselves, the more they understand the rigors of business, the better.
But in your experience then, for those who do want to work for themselves, they have a vision, they want to start a business, what are some of the keys to building a successful business for entrepreneurs, specifically, Catherine, within our current economic climate in South Africa?
So one of the things that's really interesting, I started my first business at 27. My husband at the time, I think, had started already like at 22 or 23. What we're finding in our own experience over many thousands of entrepreneurs, but also internationally, is that there's a kind of a sweet spot. There's a sweet age, which is the ideal age, if you like, or the most common age for people to start a successful business. And that's between about 25 and 35. So norm of about 27, 28 years old. And what that is that the ideal there is that the young person has had some life experience. Preferably they've had work experience. So, and they've built some networks. And so they've really got a good grounding as to how the world of business works, how the world of employment works. And they have these networks. They're better able to identify where there's an opportunity in the market, and then to be able to take that and make something of it. And so I'm really passionate about youth entrepreneurship. I think it's the most exciting thing that's really happening, and particularly in that sweet spot where ideally people have had this work experience and then can start business. Is that clear?
Very, very clear. I'm just hoping that that doesn't mean it's over for those of us who are over 35, Catherine, who still want to start our businesses. But I can clearly hear the passion in your voice. Let's talk about some of the training that you offer to SMEs, yes, and also what the success rate of that training is.
Yes, thanks so much. Before we go on, yeah, I actually started Patola at the age of 50. So there's never a top cutoff. It's really just about getting the passion together. So have a chat with me after, and I'll help you on that road. So the training that we offer, so I believe that it's important to understand the whole pipeline. And so we have a number of different accelerators. We work with startups. So we have a really exciting program with our partners, FNB. They work with us on a program called the Youth Start-Up Accelerator. And there we take 100 youth every year from kind of ideation and very, very early startup, taking them through a year program in order to really give them the skills to be able to understand how to do the fundamentals of business. We work with peer mentors, because often what you find is that young South Africans don't come from families, maybe didn't even work, but they certainly don't usually come from families that have entrepreneurs in their family. And so we really make sure in that program, in that startup program, that they have access to peer mentors. They can see people that, like for like people that came out of similar township background or came out of rural background. And so that program's really nice as a startup. We actually also then work very much with youth, with our SAB Foundation program, which is, if you like, the next level. So first is startup, then it's growth. And that also, we work with youth right across South Africa with a real focus, especially on township and rural. But both of those programs are nice from you got to get people started first, right?
Yeah.
So the FNB program gets them to be started, and then the SAB Foundation program really takes them to the next level so that they can really grow and become big job creators.
Well, thank you so much for your time and all your advice this morning, Catherine. I believe that more information is available and more opportunities are available, and people can take hold of that by making contact with you. We really appreciate your time. That's the founder and group CEO at Patola, Catherine Wijnberg.